Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Predictions, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the main categories, Best Actress. Now, if you're not familiar with how the Oscars work, you might be looking at these videos thinking, why are you doing them out of order all the time? Well, the reason I do them out of order is because some categories are simply easier to predict than others. And in the acting categories, every year there's usually at least one acting category that's pretty easy to call. And last year, all four of the acting categories were really easy to call. And here, at least one, there's an obvious winner, and that is Best Actress. But let's go over the nominees first. Actually, before we do that, I just want to talk briefly about snubs. A lot of great performances get snubbed every year. That's just the way it is. There's always going to be more than 5 great performances in a year. That's why snubs continually happen. And I think it is a shame that Emily Blunt was snubbed. I really think she's an incredible actress, and she should have gotten a nomination by now, and she's never been nominated. So hopefully that changes for her. But I think the snub that upset a lot of people more was Toni Collette for Hereditary, and she was always a long shot. Because let's face it, if people wanted to nominate her for that performance, then Academy voters would actually have to sit down and watch this incredibly gory and disturbing movie. And I sort of figured that they wouldn't be up to the challenge of doing that. But it's still an incredible performance, and other performances that were overlooked this year might include, what's her name? Thomasin McKenzie in Leave No Trace. They tried to push her supporting, but she was very lead. And, yeah, what else? I'm not going to name any other names, but there were a lot of great performances this year, and I won't have time to name all of them. So let's just move on to the category as it stands. 5th most likely to win is Melissa McCarthy in Can You Ever Forgive Me? So this is Melissa McCarthy's 2nd nomination, and this is the only one of the nominees that I haven't seen this year in terms of this category. There's a lot of movies that I have not seen, and I'm trying to catch up on some of them, but this one just, I don't know, I'm gonna have to check it out soon before I get to supporting actor, because Richard E. Grant's supposed to be very good. And I know that Melissa McCarthy can do drama, because I saw her in the movie St. Vincent with Bill Murray, and she's surprisingly quite good in that movie. And I respect her as an actress. I don't always think she picks the right scripts, and I think every once in a while she should say no to her husband when he gives her Life at the Party or whatever these scripts are. But I don't have anything against her as an actress or a person. I just think she occasionally picks poor material that doesn't show her to the best of her ability. I really believe she can act, and I am excited to see her in this movie. I'm proud that she is an Oscar nominee, a 2-time Oscar nominee. However, I don't think she's going to win, and even though she's a respected actress, I don't really think she's due for a win yet. If you look at someone like Jonah Hill is probably the male equivalent of Melissa McCarthy, because they're both 2-time nominees, which is surprising. And they're both nominated for they have, I think, one more comedic performance on their resume, which is Wolf of Wall Street and Bridesmaids, and then they have Moneyball and Can You Ever Forgive Me, which is the serious performance. Like, they can be a serious actor. And so I guess what I'm saying is I think McCarthy will have to do a lot more dramatic performances, and she'll have to do something that really blows everybody away for her to be due an Oscar. I don't know if anyone would really say she's due for an Oscar, at least in this point in her career, and considering that she makes a lot of movies that critics do not consider to be good. But maybe that day will come, but I can't imagine an Oscar voter will look at the list of 5 nominees in this category and say, you know who deserves an Oscar the most? Melissa McCarthy. Maybe that day will come, but that day is not today. 4th most likely to win Is Lady Gaga A Star Is Born? Now, this is probably going to upset a lot of you. I'm sure many people have her at number 2. I mean, she tied at Critics' Choice Awards. Here's why I don't think she's going to win. First of all, I think her and the movie peaked too early. There was a lot of talk when the movie first came out about how this is her Oscar vehicle, and then she lost. Well, first of all, she lost SAG, but what's most important to take note of is the fact that she lost the Globe. Now, the Golden Globes love to award stars. They love stars, and there is no bigger star than Lady Gaga, arguably. They gave Lady Gaga a Golden Globe Award for her TV work in American Horror Story. And now here comes this big vehicle that's supposed to give Lady Gaga a bunch of awards, and she loses to Glenn Close. Originally, she was supposed to compete in musical comedy, and she would have easily won, but they pushed her against Glenn Close, and Glenn Close beat her. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but that shows that Lady Gaga does not have the support that a lot of people thought she would. And it also shows that she, some people consider her to be inauthentic in a lot of her speeches, and her, there can be 100 people in the room and only one should look at you, and that is Bradley Cooper. And the other thing, too, is a lot of people naturally assume that she's going to win Best Original Song, and because of that, they don't need to give her an Oscar in Lead Actress. They feel that they're going to be democratic, everyone's going to get their Oscars in individual categories. We don't need to give her multiple. And Lady Gaga is more known as a singer-songwriter, so maybe she can give an acting performance that wins an Oscar in the future, but I don't really know if I see that happening. At least not this year. Similar with McCarthy. I'm not ruling it out, but I don't think this is her year. It was shaping up to be her year at the beginning, but now I'm fairly certain this is not going to be her year. Third most likely to win is Yalitza Aparicio in Roma. Now, it's a bit weird that I'm putting her third, and then I'm putting her over Lady Gaga, but I feel that there's almost a path for her to win here. Like, I'm not sure if it's likely, but I think it's possible. And Yalitza Aparicio never acted before in her life. She was a school teacher, and her story, it's very much a Cinderella story. She heard about the auditions, and she was actually concerned. She thought the auditions were a little bit sketchy. She thought that there was going to be like a human trafficking front thing, and she brought her mom to the audition with her to make sure that nothing bad would happen. And that shows how poor the part of Mexico she's from is, and how little experience she had. And watching her in this role, it's interesting because on the one hand, you can't tell that she's not an actress. Like, the performance is very, very good. It never looks like she's failing or that she's an amateur. Like, you never get that sense. But at the same time, you also can kind of tell that because she doesn't have the big traditional, like, acting gestures. It's not a very loud performance. It very much feels, watching this movie, a lot of the time it feels like you're watching a documentary, and that this is a real person that was captured. And with performances like that, with non-actors in these roles, a lot of time it can be chalked up to the casting director or to the director himself. And I'm sure that Alfonso Cuarón had a lot to do with making the performance as good as it is, but you can't deny Yalitza's talent. And I don't know if she's going to have an acting career after this, or if she's going to go right back to teaching, but I think it might be kind of weird to go back to teaching after getting an Oscar nomination. But like I said, it really is a Cinderella story to have this woman come out of nowhere and get an Academy Award nomination for a film that's doing really, really well, that might win Best Picture. Like, I think there's a scenario in which she wins and shocks everybody. And that is if everybody loves Roma and they vote for it in every category they can, which I think is possible. In fact, now that I'm saying it, I'm almost wondering, should I have made her number 2? But I feel that there's still things against her. Obviously, she's talk about people being due. Like, no one knew who this person was 6 months ago, and now she has an Oscar nomination. Like, she's not due. Maybe if she has a expert career after this, then people will say, you know, she's really due. But I can't see this. I can't see her being due. The funny thing is that this is actually almost the kind of Star is Born story that Gaga was hoping to get, and now it's going to Yalitza. I don't know if anything's going to come out of this, but I feel like if she was going to win, then she would have a few guild wins, and she doesn't. In fact, even like all the newcomer awards, like most of those are going to Elsie Fisher, Thomas and Mackenzie. Like they're not giving her a ton of credits. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think she could win, but at the moment I think it's unlikely. But keep an eye on this. This could be the biggest shock of the night. Second most likely to win is Olivia Colman in The Favorite. Okay, so here's the irony with Olivia Colman. So the movie The Favorite is about the three women, Olivia Colman, Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz, and really it's about all three of them. They're all lead. But they pushed Colman lead and they pushed Stone and Weisz supporting, and they could have done the opposite. They could have pushed Stone and Weisz as co-leads and Colman supporting, and the real irony here is that if Olivia Colman had gone Best Supporting Actress, I think she would have this Oscar in the can. I think she would, like this Oscar would be hers. Her going supporting, that feels like a very easy win to me, especially because supporting actress is a little unsure right now. Regina King feels like the front runner, but then she missed out on SAG and on BAFTA. So I feel like Olivia Colman could have gotten a lot of traction as a winner here. She already won the Globe for comedy, and I feel like there's a chance she might win BAFTA too. She's a very respected British actress, and this is a very good performance. It's a comedic performance, but there's a lot of dramatic heft to it, and there's almost a quiet tragedy to her that even though she's the queen, she has very little power, and even though she supposedly is this great monarch that has, like, everyone thinks she's crazy and she's sick and she's not in the best of health, and no one really cares about her except maybe Rachel Weisz, and by the end, Emma Stone, I feel, doesn't really care about her. Emma Stone is just using her and doting on her, and it's like funny in a way, but it's also quietly tragic, and a lot of it works because of Olivia Colman's performance and also Yorgos Lanthimos' direction of her. I feel like, but I don't know. I don't know if I can see her winning lead actress. I feel that it's almost like there's not enough substance for a lead win. In supporting, this could 100% happen. I could 100% see her winning Best Supporting Actress, but I just don't know if I can see her winning lead. And I think that Yorgos Lanthimos, or the team behind The Favorite, did her a big disservice by pushing her lead. And I feel that Emma Stone is certainly more of a lead in the movie than Olivia Colman is, and to call Stone supporting is flat-out category fraud, and it should have been the other way around. And it is kind of debatable. They're kind of all leads, but they're also kind of all supporting each other, but I don't know. I just don't think that she has the support to win in lead, especially when you see who number one is. I think in supporting, she could have walked away with this, hands down. And this is also her first nomination, so she's not really due, but she has been working in the industry for a while as a character actress, and she's never really gotten a big break until this movie and then The Crown coming up. So I think maybe she's going to win an Emmy for The Crown, and then she'll be back in the conversation for a different project. She'll be back. But she could have been so great for her. She really could have won if only she had gone in a different category. Okay, on to number one. My predicted winner in this category is Glenn Close in The Wife. So, when you want to talk about being overdue, none of the other actresses in this category has anywhere near the overdue factor of Glenn Close. And let's face it, they liked overdue. Now, early on when I first saw the film, I was concerned. I was like, is this really going to be her Oscar vehicle? Like, is the performance, it's a good performance, but is it like the manifestation of her career? Is it the great undeniable? Or is this just going to be Al Pacino, Scent of a Woman, or Jimmy Stewart in a Philadelphia Story, where we're giving an Oscar to this person because this person really should have an Oscar, not because this performance is good. And it is kind of like that. And I think at a certain point, people just decided, this is what happened with Gary Oldman last year, when we decided, you know what, he should have an Oscar, and he's old, and he's not going to get another chance, probably. And that's exactly what's happening this year with Glenn Close. And we kind of saw this happen with Julianne Moore. When a woman is past her prime, as it were, and I don't say that to be offensive, but in the eyes of Hollywood, Hollywood's always giving roles to young actresses in their 20s and 30s. And someone like Glenn Close has been an industry legend, and she got a bunch of nominations when she was younger, and then she never won an Oscar. And people are aware of the fact that she doesn't have an Oscar, and I felt like a narrative really started to form about, okay, this is her year, let's just all get in agreement that we're going to give Glenn Close an Oscar this year. And what really cemented this was the Golden Globes. Before the Golden Globes, there was some debate about whether or not this was really going to be Glenn Close's year, but as soon as Glenn Close beat Lady Gaga at the Globes, then it was over. It was absolutely over at that point. Because, as I said before, the Golden Globes love stars and they love Lady Gaga. So the fact that they would turn down the opportunity to give Lady Gaga a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama and say, no, we're going to give it to Glenn Close for a movie that didn't get nominated for anything else in this festival circuit. We're going to give it to Glenn Close for a movie that people debate if the rest of the movie is even good. But we've just decided that this is Glenn Close's year. And then she tied at SAG, and then she tied it at Critics' Choice, and she won SAG. And even if she loses BAFTA to Olivia Colman, I still don't know how she could possibly miss this Oscar, because sometimes a person has reached a certain age, and we're like, you know what? We never got around to giving you an Oscar. We're sorry. We're going to give you one now. This is just the overdue factor. And I feel that there's no way, if Glenn Close loses this Oscar, then people are going to be really upset. And I feel that this is Glenn Close's year, and in a way, a lot of the movie is about her character being underappreciated. And there's almost a subliminal meta narrative to that, with how she's never received an Academy Award, and she's never received what many people feel she is due. And it actually is kind of perfect now that I think about it, now that I say it out loud. This movie is Glenn Close's Oscar vehicle, and we're just going to say, okay, we're going to be fine with it, we're going to give her an Oscar, and then she'll have an Oscar, and that'll be that. I feel like the industry has decided, okay, Glenn Close, you've played the game, this is your year, here's your Oscar. Okay, so that's my predictions, and tune in tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure what I'll do tomorrow, probably original song, but I still need to see Ballad of Buster Scruggs. And so, we'll see what happens, but tune in tomorrow for more Oscar predictions. Thank you, goodbye.